Hi, and welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Let's see where we want to begin today. I want to talk with you just a little bit about the story of Philemon when it comes to illegal immigration. I am going to work up a column on this. I've been trying for 3 days to get to it. Haven't been able to do it. And I touched on this last week, but this is a perspective. It's an angle on the issue of illegal immigration that I have not seen yet. There, by the way, is an evangelical coalition that's forming to serve as a counterpoint to the evangelical immigration table. Remember, this is a coalition that consists of a whole lot of evangelical leaders whose names you would recognize. And they have come together to push amnesty. They want amnesty. They're advocating for amnesty, and they're doing it in the name of evangelicalism. They are quoting the words of Jesus. You know, we played the words from that ad that they put out, basically saying, look, if you don't support what we want with amnesty, if you're not in favor of rewarding people who have broken our immigration laws, you are going straight to hell. They quote the words of Jesus from Matthew 25, the sheep and the goats. The sheep are going into paradise. The goats are going away to the place of Satan, the place of eternal fire and brimstone. And basically, this is Max Lucado and these people sonorously reading these words of Jesus, threatening us with eternal separation from the presence of God if we don't join them in the call for amnesty for illegal aliens. Well, in response to that, there's another organization consisting of evangelicals, conservative Christians, who have arisen to provide a counterpart to that. And they've written an excellent letter, had a chance to read it yesterday. They're going to release that any day now, and there'll be a number of leading evangelicals who will have signed that letter, and it's a good letter. Now, one thing I've not heard about, I think Sandy Rios mentioned this one time on her program, and it's kind of what put me onto it, and it's the story of Philemon. And again, I touched on this last week, but I want to spend a little bit more time with it here, and this is specifically dealing with the issue of illegal aliens and illegal immigration. And before I jump into all that, let me give you just a little bit of information that's kind of developed over the last 24 hours on the immigration issue. One, that the CBO has come out with an analysis of the amnesty bill. I call this the Marco Rubio Permanent Democratic Majority Bill, because that's what would be the result. If this thing goes through, then Democrats are going to win every national election from here until the end of time. And that's not an exaggeration. The entire United States will become California. California is a one-party state. Yeah, you've got a Republican Party, but it's a paper lion. It's a paper tiger, pretty much exists only on paper. The Democratic Party in California has a supermajority in both houses of the legislature, and this was not true until 1986. Before 1986, and until illegal aliens flooding that state caught up with it, it was a Republican state. This was the state of Ronald Reagan. They had Republican control of the legislature, Republicans in the governor's office, and then illegal immigration, or this amnesty for illegals, came along in 1986, and the state that experienced the most amnesty was California. They had more Hispanic immigrants than any other state, so they were impacted the most immediately, and now that's a one-party state, and that's where the United States will be headed. And I wouldn't care about that if it was the right thing to do, because I think if it's the right thing to do, you do it, you support it, regardless of its impact on political parties. Yeah, that's not the reason you do something. But this is both the wrong thing to do, it's a horribly wrong thing to do, and it is fatal to the Republican Party. It just boggles the mind that any Republican, especially somebody that's supposed to be as smart as Marco Rubio, would support this bill. And because Rubio is a pretty smart fella, I think this is purely political calculation on his part. He's not doing this because he believes it's best or right for the Republican Party. Marco Rubio is doing this because he believes it is best for Marco Rubio. He thinks this is his ticket to the White House in 2016. Now, I think he's just fatally mistaken on this. I think this is a miscalculation of just absolutely astronomical proportions. I'm looking at some polling data in Florida. Even his home state doesn't approve of what he's doing on immigration. Let me see if I can grab the results of that poll from Florida. Not even people in his own state like what he's doing. 41% of Floridians, according to Quinnipiac University poll, disapprove of what Marco Rubio is doing on immigration. Only 33% approve. So he's upside down on immigration, even in his home state. So I think Marco Rubio has badly miscalculated here, but I do not believe he's doing this because it's best for the country. He's going to try to convince us that that's why he's doing it, because obviously you have to wrap yourself in the flag and all that. But Marco Rubio's got to be smart enough to know that if you look at this thing objectively, it is not in the best interest of the United States. So he's doing it because he thinks it's in the best interest of Marco Rubio and his political ambitions. But the CBO came out with this analysis of the amnesty bill, the Marco Rubio permanent Democratic majority bill, and they project the costs out over 10 years. Now, I wondered about that. I wondered about the fact that they had citizenship delayed out to 13 years in this bill. And why is that? What's the deal with 13 years? Why are they making these people wait 13 years for citizenship? And I realized it is for this reason. When the CBO scores a bill, they only score the thing 10 years out. So they just look at what the numbers they're given, the formulas that they're told to use in calculating all this stuff, and then they sort of evaluate the bill for its impact on the budget. But they will only go out 10 years. They say, look, you can't project out past 10 years. Now, what happens when these people become citizens 13 years from now? There's no way they're going to wait that long, but that's the way the bill is written, so that's the way the CBO has to score it. Well, what happens when they become citizens then is they become instantly eligible for every government program in existence. There are something like 70 means-tested welfare programs. You know some of them. You've got subsidized housing. You've got EBT cards. You have food stamps. You've got temporary assistance to needy families, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And then you got Social Security. You have Medicaid. You have Medicare. All of these programs, they become instantly eligible for them, which means that the taxpayers, when they become citizens, assume a burden for their benefits for the rest of their natural lives. Now, remember, Heritage Foundation calculated that, look, the average illegal alien that's going to be legalized under this bill is going to live an additional 34 years and well into retirement age. So all of the Social Security costs, all of the Medicare costs, all of the Medicaid costs up until then, the taxpayers that are in America right now are going to have to be responsible for all of that. So there's enormous costs, but you don't start incurring, at least on paper, you don't start incurring these costs until 13 years into the program. Well, the CBO is only scoring the first 10 years. So that makes these numbers look a whole lot better than they otherwise would. So don't be fooled by that CBO thing. You're going to hear Marco Rubio out there, oh, this shows it's a benefit to the economy. Forget about that. Even if it would work like it's drawn up, and I don't think it would. I don't think there's any chance this thing is going to play out like they say it's going to go. But let's assume for the sake of argument it did. This is only projecting cost to the taxpayers for the next 10 years. The real hit to the taxpayers doesn't start until 13 years into this paper plan. So don't let Marco Rubio, anybody else, lie to you about the fact that this is going to be a benefit to the American economy. And it's all intentional. I mean, they're playing us, ladies and gentlemen. Marco Rubio is playing us for saps. He's playing us for chumps. He's playing us for fools by trying to get us to believe this swill. Now, two things I want to draw your attention to that come out in this CBO report, as much as they want to mask it, two things that you need to understand that the CBO says. Again, this is as favorable as you can get to the Rubio permanent Democratic majority bill. But even the CBO says this will not stop illegal immigration. Even the CBO says it's only going to slow illegal immigration down by about 25%, which means we are not talking now about 11.5 million illegal aliens. We are talking about 19 million illegal aliens. And if you parse the numbers in here, the CBO is indicating that this bill is going to allow 46 million immigrants by the year 2033. These are CBO's numbers. This is a piece by Neil Monroe in the Daily Caller. The Senate's pending immigration bill will pave the way for the arrival of 46 million legal immigrants over the next 20 years. So don't let anybody tell you this is just about 11 million immigrants. It's about 11.5 million illegal. It's about 7.5 million new illegal aliens that are going to come over the next 10 years, and then another 26 million beyond that are going to be admitted into the United States. So this bill is going to allow for 46 million immigrants to come into the country. So remember this. Even if this worked like it was drawn up, according to the CBO, it's only going to reduce illegal immigration by 25%. 75% of the illegal immigration that's flooding into the United States was going to keep right on flooding into this country, even if this goes into effect. Now, here's a second thing that's an important takeaway, is that even the CBO says that the Marco Rubio permanent Democratic majority bill will drive down wages. For legal American workers, the CBO estimates the bill would drive down their average wages. I've got a piece in here. Harvard economist George Borjas has recently estimated that low-skilled American workers already suffer wage losses of $402 billion a year because of immigrant labor, a sum that does not include the cost to taxpayers of welfare paid to low-skilled immigrant workers and their children. Amnesty proponents should explain how providing legal status to millions of illegal aliens will affect the job prospects of the poorest Americans are going to get right in the wallet. Focal Point, AFR Talk, back in 2.
Leanne Williams.